Holman, there's a lot of show coming. So I'm just saying, strap on your seatbelt.
Whoa.
Buckle in, because it may be bumpy.
Strap in maybe is better than strapping on your seatbelt. Strap into your seat with your seatbelt.
Sure.
I'm saying from a unfortunate phrasing standpoint, we want to strap into our seats.
I am good at unfortunate phraseology. Yes.
Hashtag unfortunate phrasing. That'd be truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
Speaking of breaking rules, things like that, we're going to have our new friend, I think he's our friend. I want him to be our friend, Ariel, who runs Vortex Radar. Anyway, I'm excited to catch up with Ariel and get the backstory to how he became a radar detector guru. And then, do you mind if I give you some presents before we start the show?
Presents?
Yes. Hold on a second. I have to step outside the studio because they're heavy and bring them in.
Oh, boy. Should I be worried?
No, well, first thing is, this is the big one, right? So right here.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's the 0W40 AMSOIL that meets that really specific Chrysler requirement for their V8s. All right. Got some AMSOIL for my next oil change.
Again, they know AMSOIL. I stole this from work.
Oh, yeah.
You know AMSOIL for oils, lubricants, things like that. You don't know AMSOIL for their glass cleaners.
Would you say, so you say that their glass cleaner doesn't leave any streaks at all?
That's correct.
Okay, we'll see.
I don't hard to believe.
I'm looking forward to it.
And you asked for
I did ask for
axle
this.
grease. I don't know if this racing grease is the same.
So this is the Dominator Synthetic High Speed, High Temp, Extreme Pressure. So this is the NLGI2, which is great for bearings and then chassis lubrication. So for me, it's great for my ball joints, my performance ball joints on the 392 and some of those things. And I did ask for this because this stuff is, wow, that is a heavy box. I felt it through the floor.
Yep. Some bank stuff here. So these are flyers that I want you. I know you have a lot of friends that own Rams.
Yeah.
This is our latest flyer to talk about the P2609.
It says, stop!
Yes, the grid heater failure issue. So I know you're out and about a lot, and you're running into guys off-road, and a lot of them still don't know about this issue, so please pass those out.
All right, this is the preventative $30,000 engine replacement safety bulletin, 2007 to 24 Ram 6.7-liter trucks, and it has a QR code you can scan and get into the nitty-gritty.
The short story is that the Monster Ram, as we've said many times before, not only prevents this issue, your engine from basically blowing up thanks to a little bolt that falls into the intake manifold and falls into your cylinder and kills it, it explains the performance benefits to the Monster Ram and all this stuff. Anyway, pass that out. Now, this you haven't seen because I just put it on sale this morning. This is our new, to kind of go along with that same theme of Ram trucks. Check out our new Cummins 6.7-liter Blueprint t-shirt.
Okay, so I want us to do a t-shirt that looks like that without the Banks logos on it. And
well, this is a Banks shirt.
I know, but I want that shirt for the Truck Show podcast with some different things on it.
Okay, you want like wieners hidden in it? Is that what you're saying?
That would be great.
I almost did that just for you.
I mean, there should have been something in there for that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do the line drawing with the Truck Show podcast version of that shirt. But I want on the breast on the front. I want the no. I'm not going to tell you how I want it.
Okay.
Because I don't want somebody to steal it because it's a brilliant idea.
Well, you tell me and I'll print it.
And our people will.
Anyway, so this is brand new. This is basically it's a black shirt with white ink on the back, and it's fine line drawing. It's a blueprint of a Cummins engine.
Line drawing. Yep.
Yeah. Super cool. All right.
But it's a line drawing of Cummins with Banks products on it, like the turbo.
That's correct. And the Monster Ram on there. Look, it's got the Monster Ram. Yeah. So then,
very cool.
Next thing is from our friends down in Escondido, California. You got an AGM shirt.
Very nice.
All right, and then
thank you.
I'm going to let you choose the jack rod. You can either choose the jack rod, the standard length right here, right, or you can choose the XL.
Oh, wow.
I can use both, but we only have the two, so I need you to choose one. I'll take the other.
All right. Well, we can Rochambeau.
You want to do that?
Let's go.
Okay.
But you have to shout as you do it.
Yeah. Rock. How do you do that?
It's rock. You just yell rock, paper, scissors,
and
then. So which one do you prefer?
I guess. Well, it's both of our trucks are tall, so I think we both want the XL.
Okay.
But I'm okay with either.
All right.
So I'm not going to be disappointed.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to.
By the way, this is by AGM, so thank you very much to the guys at AGM for sending this over.
Best 2 of 3.
Right.
Okay.
Best 2 of 3. Okay.
1, 2, 3, scissors.
Oh, I did paper.
Okay.
So
I won. Okay. I won first one. Okay.
Right.
1, 2, 3, rock. Oh, that's tight.
Okay.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, rock. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, rock.
Scissors. Oh, you got it. Which one?
I'll take the XL.
All right, there you go. XL. Jack rod. So for those of you that missed the episode that our friend from AGM was on, this basically turns your hydraulic jack into a jack stand.
Yeah, locks it out.
Yeah, so if you're, I feel like we've done this guy a lot of plugs, but I love the invention.
Cool stuff.
I love the invention. Anyway,
cool
so
stuff.
that is, it's More Stuff Monday.
More Stuff
Monday, exactly.
All right, well, since we've teased all of our advertisers already, let's go ahead and do the reads, but we have to start with Nissan, the presenting sponsor of the Truck Show podcast, and Nissan's been with us since the beginning. If you're in the market for a brand new midsize truck, you're going to want to check out the 2024 Nissan Frontier. It is one of our favorite midsize trucks, starts at $30,510, comes standard with a 3.8-liter V6, 9-speed automatic, 310 horsepower, 281 pound-feet of torque, and a maximum tow rating of 6,640 pounds. And now you can even option your Frontier with the ultra retro awesome 80s hardbody package with the updated version of the 3-spoke monoblocks that anybody of our age remembers from our youth. And
don't date us.
I definitely wouldn't do that. And you can find out more about all the options and packages by heading over to Nissan USA to build and price, or take a test drive at your local Nissan dealership. And if you don't have time to go down to your local dealer, you can go to the website and you can actually take your car buying experience online with Nissan at Home, where they will come bring a vehicle to your house so that you can test drive it from your own driveway. So again, that's NissanUSA.com, and Nissan making some of the most reliable, dependable trucks and supporting the best podcast in the world.
Yes. All right, so I've got a special deal for you for our Banks fans that have Cummins powered trucks. If you're interested in the new Cummins Blueprint shirt, the t-shirt that I just gave to Holman, if you place an order with me, Lightning, at truckshowpodcast.com for your Ram truck parts, I will include a free Cummins t-shirt, and I'll hook a brother up on the price of the merch. Not only are you going to save some cash on your parts, but I will also give you this free brand spanking new shirt. Whether you have a 5'9" or a 6'7", hit me up, lightning at truckshowpodcast.com, give you a free t-shirt and a discount on your parts. But you got to go through me because I'm going to make a special discount code just for you, just for your name. Your name will be the discount code. Send me an email, lightning at truckshowpodcast.com.
All right, we got to thank our friends over at AMSOIL for supporting the show. AMSOIL is first in synthetics, and it's not just motor oil. AMSOIL, as we said earlier, makes a slew of other products. I've got in front of me the professional strength glass cleaner, which Lightning says no streaks, so I'll have to tell you, I've got my Nissan Ariel. By the way, I put 1,000 miles on it already. I freaking love that thing. I drove it out to Palm Springs and got to the hotel, and I said, is there charging? Oh, yeah, there's free charging for guests right over there. Mm-hmm. So drove it home with the full charge. It's been great. But what I was going to say is the windshield rake. I'm not used to having a massive windshield with a lot of rake because I'm driving Jeeps all the time.
Right. It's a flat piece of glass.
Yeah, or a Frontier. So
right.
it's very upright. So I went to wash it in the driveway for the first time, and I'm trying to get the and there's streaks down by the bottom, and you know how new cars are. They start kind of off-gassing, and they get kind of hazy for the first couple months of ownership as all the parts and stuff.
Well, and it's all the hot air that you've got coming out of you as well.
Too. Yeah. And I actually want to use a good glass cleaner because what I was using, Windex sucks at automotive glass.
Windex sucks.
It's horrible.
And you know what? Invisible glass sucks too. My wife keeps buying bottles of invisible glass. It's comes in an aerosol and it comes in the squeeze bottle. And I'm like, dude, it's awful.
No good. And then this Dominator Synthetic NLGI number 2 will be perfect for my ball joints, drive shafts, and the other things on the Jeep because I just got back from another desert trip. So this will go in my grease gun, and I can do all the lubrication. And then thanks for the synthetic 0W40 for the 392 because that's what I'm going to be putting in for the next oil change.
Signature Series is the bomb diggity, as they say.
It's awesome. So if you're looking for synthetics for your vehicle, you'll want to go to AMSOIL.com where you can actually shop by vehicle with your year, make, model tool, or browse the full line of premium AMSOIL products in the latest AMSOIL Factory Direct catalog. Again, that's AMSOIL.com.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
It's kind of an interesting story how I arrived at Ariel Bravy or Bravy, Bravy is
Are
his last
you
name.
telling me once again you have not researched our guest's name?
Well, he never says his last name on his video channel on YouTube.
Are you going to introduce yourself as J. Tiles?
No.
Okay.
No, Lightning.
Lightning.
No. Or as people write
Lightning.
Lighting, as
Lighting.
people
Well,
write
that's
it all
true.
the time. Yeah, they
Lighting
forget the
is-
second N.
that's true.
By the way, people, when you write me, Lightning has two N's. N-I-N-G.
But they're not next. They're not next to each other.
No, they're separated by an I.
Yeah.
Lightning. So I'm on YouTube, as I do so often, and I have an old Passport, or I actually Escort. It was time to upgrade. And so what does a normal person do? You Google it. And then I find myself on YouTube, and I'm looking at reviews and review after
You're talking about
review
radar
after review.
detectors.
Radar detectors.
Laser also? Jammers?
All of it. I'm not interested in a jammer.
All the things that are completely illegal where you live.
Radar detectors are not illegal. I don't believe they're legal in the state of California. Radar jammers are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, depending on where other people live. Let's find out, because that's something I don't know. Anyway, so I end up on YouTube, and I'm going through all these reviews, and I keep coming back to Vortex Radar. It's a channel. And I don't even think he says his name. I don't think I even knew Ariel's name until I emailed back and forth with him trying to get him on the show. And this guy knows so much about radar detectors, and his reviews are so in-depth. I don't know his background. I don't know if he worked at a radar company, if he worked for Uniden.
Should we just call
or
him?
Cobra or one of the.
I feel like we're doing a disservice to our guests by telling them what we don't know. We don't know his name. We don't know his background. We don't know what he does.
I'm trying to express how, like.
Yeah, well, just call the guy.
Oh, man.
Let's just call him, and then we'll go from there.
All right. I'm dialing Ariel.
Hello, this is Ariel.
Ariel, Lightning and Holman, Truck Show Podcast. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
We're great. Hey, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Bravy or Bravy?
Yeah, Bravy.
Bravy. Okay, so as if it had two V's.
Now you're picking apart the spelling of our guest name before we even play the jingle.
So what he doesn't know is we were trying to figure that out before we dialed him. So
Lightning
Bravy.
has this great knack for signing up new guests and butchering their names. So.
Well, I didn't know, and he never says it on his YouTube channel, so how could I know? Hey, Ariel, we have a quick jingle to play before we talk to you. Don't move.
Prepare to dive.
Prepare to dive.
Hi, Captain! Captain, we're too deep!
There's no such thing as too deep. Okay, that was too deep.
I feel like he should have had a depth detector there.
Right? Yeah, probably. We're taking a deep dive on radar detectors. Ariel, before we dialed you, I was telling Holman, my counterpart here, that I was in the market. I had an old Escort radar detector, and it was kind of getting along in the tooth. It still worked, but I was getting a lot annoyed by how many false alarms it was having. And we're in Southern California, where there's every door of every 7-Eleven and Target and Walmart has a door that swings open and closed using radar.
And most of those are what, K-band?
We're going to find out. He's going to walk us through it. So I'm reading reviews online, and I end up on your YouTube channel. And every question I had, you had an answer for. Kudos to you. I have never seen someone with better unbiased reviews of radar detectors. So I wanted to get your background and find out how you ended up as being this radar expert.
Yeah, it's funny because that was never the goal or the plan or the point at all. It was literally like, I was just, I wanted to learn more about this stuff too. So I started doing research online, and I didn't find a lot of good information at the time. And I was like, okay, well, let me then just start doing. Curious to see, like, what are the differences between the different detectors? If I change this setting, what does it do? So I just started doing a lot of my own testing with like, let's try this setting. Let's change that. Let's get a police radar gun. Let's see what it's like from the officer's perspective. Let's set up a test course. I don't know. Let's see, like, how far away can they pick me up? How far away can I pick them up? And I just started playing with all this stuff and learning. And I'm like, what about this detector? What about that one? What about these different radar guns? And it just kind of snowballed into this like, I just want to learn everything and understand it all. And then in the process of me testing and learning, I just started sharing what I found. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just tested this. Like, is this working well? Here's what I found. Like, And it just kind of, people liked the test. So I just kept trying other things. They would suggest more things. I would test something else. And it's just kind of continued on from there.
But what is your background? Are you an electrical engineer? Because you speak with authority, but you're not biased. You're like, this is how it works, and this is how I found what this thing does in real life. But your delivery on your YouTube channel is straightforward, but it's friendly, and it's I find it wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like when I first got into this stuff, I mentioned I was doing some research online, and like I found some people who would maybe just recommend me something that they could make money off of, but wasn't necessarily what was best for me. And I was like, I bought an Escort one, but I would have preferred a Valentine detector because I love to tinker and I love that kind of technical stuff. And I love some of the performance attributes. And so like, I mean, I do have a technical background. I went to school for electrical computer engineering and like kind of focused on radar and laser stuff. And so a lot of this was a natural, like, oh, okay, I get the basics. I get the idea. I've got the background in it. And then I've done a lot of work with like still photography. And so I was really familiar with cameras. And then eventually as I got into YouTube, I was like, oh, I kind of know how cameras work. Let me pivot to, I guess, videos because I have an idea on like how I set up tripods and cameras and lenses and stuff. And so I kind of figured out video stuff along the way. And so I have like that technical background, but then also like this underlying sense of, I wish somebody would have just told me like what was true and how the stuff actually works, independent of what was best for them and like their wallet. Just, I wanted to know for myself. And so like, whenever I do reviews or tests, it was like, I just want to share how this stuff actually works. You can buy whatever you want. You can trust me. You can go do testing yourself. I highly encourage you to go testing yourself because man, you learn so much in the process. You can validate what I find. We can compare notes. Like I find a lot of value in actually doing the testing. So I'm encouraging people like always go test, but like, if you want to save yourself the time, here's what I found so far in the process. Here's what I found talking to other manufacturers. Here's what other testers have found. Like, here's everything that we know. And here's the info. Do with it what you want.
So
but like, I just want people to understand.
You're going with Ronald Reagan's old mantra, trust but verify.
Oh man, I think that's extremely important. Like, it's amazing how much you learn when you verify. And if we have like 50 people all testing instead of everybody saying like, well, I'm just going to wait for Vortex. Like, I can't do everything. Are you kidding me? I'm one guy. And like, it's amazing. Different people testing with different radar guns and different terrains against different copies of detectors with different firmwares and different settings. Like, I can't do everything even if I wanted to. And having a lot of people all test really does add a lot of value. So, hey, if I make a mistake, you go test and like prove me wrong. I don't want my information to be incorrect. So please tell me if something is incorrect because like that's important, you know? So by all means, I love seeing other people test too. It's not just me.
So have you made friends with like the local motor officer association? Like, do you get help from the cops with tactics or what they're using, or do they hate you?
I mean, I don't necessarily like interact with them. I've had them show up to my talks and stuff, and we're like, oh, cool, there's a cop here. All right, let's chat about, how do you guys approach things? Like I'll share my stuff. But I mean, I always have to be careful on what I share because there are a lot of cops who watch my YouTube videos, and I don't want it to turn into like, here's all the information on how to give people tickets and defeat countermeasures. Like, here's all the information on silver platter,
that reminds
right?
me of that
So,
one.
like,
that one, was it a GIF or something where it shows a dude on Waze and he drives past the cop, and so he puts the cop on Waze, and the next scene is the cop sitting in his cop car on Waze removing it. Right? Like it's it goes both ways. The information can be bad or it can be good. The same information.
100%. And even the Waze thing, that's a common concern that people have. But like on the back end, Google, who now owns Waze, like they see how accurate are people's reports over time. So like if 5 people come down the line and say like, oh, the cop is still here, but this one guy says he's not there, like they're going to value all the people who are doing like correct, more verified information. If somebody keeps doing quote unquote bad information, like a cop who's unmarking himself because he's not there, but he's still there, they're actually going to like reduce the accuracy of their reports and not take it as seriously. So like that kind of stuff, there's things that go on behind the scenes to validate the accuracy of the reports. And so that's a common concern with Waze that's not actually a big deal in practice, but I know that's a big concern.
I want to go back a minute because you said that your background was with laser and radar, but not, I felt like maybe it wasn't consumer oriented or like a radar detector. What were you doing with laser beams?
It was with sharks.
With laser, yeah. Like it was our senior project in college, and we were doing Raman amplification of multimode fibers.
Wait, what?
So basically working with So basically working with like fiber optic cables and like sending them down, like, we would have different signals. It would send down the fiber optics and then different ways to amplify the signal when it gets degraded over time. And so we would have like different transmitters and amplifiers and different types of fiber. And so we would get comfortable with just playing with lasers like in the lab and these really expensive boxes. You're like, what is this thing? And it's like, oh, it's $100,000 laser. Oh, that's cool. So you just have like access to this cool stuff and learning how to use it that, I guess you wouldn't have otherwise. And so just the science and the technical aspect was always a lot of fun. I didn't want to like sit in a lab all day and actually do that stuff, but I love playing with it in a more, I guess, relaxed way, which is what a lot of the radar and laser stuff lets me do.
So many questions. I'm trying to figure out where to start. I think
that you are driving down a straight desert road. Mm-hmm. You don't have a lot of obstructions. There's no Walmart putting out their false front door radar for opening and closing doors. You're going 120 miles an hour, 118 because of your TRX. It'll probably say
because I'm limited.
Because you're limited currently. And now what? What's out there? How far is the range? What are they even using? Is it K, KA? Well, X seems to be yesterday's technology, right?
Now you've already thrown like 3 potential questions in there. I want to back up a hair and ask you, Ariel, who do you think the target market is for your information? Right? Is it a guy that has a fast car? Is it a person who abides by all the laws and just is worried about getting a blemish on their record? Are they speed freaks? Like, who is the makeup? Do you have any idea?
It's funny. Yeah. If I look at the YouTube stats, for example, it's almost exclusively guys for whatever reason that like are get really into radar detectors and dash cams too, but it's mostly going to be guys. Age range is going to be all over the place. 30 to 40 is like the main stuff. But I see people who are 20 years old, people who are 60, 70 years old. You've got the guys who are like, hey, I just bought a 911. I just bought a new Corvette. I bought a new McLaren. Like, what equipment should I get? Kind of go over that stuff. You get people who are like, hey, I'm just getting into this stuff. What detector should I buy? So you get people wanting the inexpensive entry level stuff. You get like the higher end equipment. It's ultimately just people who enjoy driving. And you don't necessarily have to speed if you just want to understand what's going on around you. Like if you just want protection and more peace of mind while you're driving, that's where a lot of this stuff comes into play. That's true for both radar detectors and for dash cams.
So then before we get into the different bands and detecting and jammers and all that, what's the situation legally with owning these devices, whether it's radar or a jammer?
You're allowed to legally use a radar detector basically everywhere. The only exceptions are things like Virginia, Washington, D.C., where the penalties are like less than $100 if you get caught. They no longer confiscate. So the penalties are pretty low. It's different than if you go to Ontario, if you go to Europe or something. Like penalties vary all over the world. But here in the U.S., it's not a big deal. Most of the U.S., it's legal. There are some exceptions like military bases, commercial vehicles, vehicles over a certain weight, larger vehicles and stuff. But for the most part, passenger cars, trucks driving through the country, there's no issue using radar detectors. With laser, it is a little bit different. Well, actually, coming back to radar, with radar jamming, that's like highly illegal, as in like massive penalties and prison time.
Right.
Plus, it's technically pretty challenging to do. It's possible. Like military, tough. Like there's radar jammers, but like it's tough to do. So for the most part, people do like radar detectors. But with laser, it has to be a little bit different because of the way laser operates. Like you don't get the advanced warning that you do with laser or that you do with radar. And so to combat laser, you have laser jammers, which not only detect the incoming laser beam, but can also fire back and jam it. That is legal in most of the country. There are a couple states, about a dozen or so, where they are prohibited. Again, the penalties are oftentimes even worse for like speeding than they are for jammers. But as the main thing is like if you have a jammer, you just kind of slow down and disable it. That's like the proper way to use the jammer. So jams, slow down, disarm the jammer, and you're good to go. So laws do vary for radar and laser, but that's how that works.
So this reminds me of a story. We once had a highway closed down in California to do a video shoot for like a commercial. And so when you have a highway closed down, usually if it's a state highway, the CHP come out, California Highway Patrol, and they sit and basically hang out and make sure people don't drive in the middle of your photo shoot or your video. So we had a couple of CHP officers and we had a truck. In fact, it was a Nissan Titan when they first came out, and we wanted to see what the top speed of the Titan was. So I asked the officer, I said, hey, do you care if I take this thing to limit? He goes, no, you bought the road for the day. I don't care. And they just sat there and hung out. And so we took it up to whatever it was, like 112 or 13 or something like that. And came back. He goes, wow, that truck's pretty fast. I'm like, oh, Were you guys,
he radared
clocking
you?
us? He's like, well, the car's pointed that way. We were just laughing watching the readout. Well, this particular road is off Highway 395, and it's near Bishop and Lone Pine, between the Sierras and the Owens Valley. So it's a pretty desolate place. It's one of the only major thoroughfares through there. It's I think it's a 4-lane highway through there. And China Lake Naval Air Station is right there. So if you're out there and you're lucky, the F-18s are out doing their thing. So I asked the officer, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, if you're patrolling by yourself in the middle of the night,
has he radared a plane?
Do you ever get snuck up on by the F-18s? And then he's like, dude, they love police cars. He goes, we'll be driving 75 miles an hour up the highway, and all of a sudden our radar goes crazy, and about 150, 200 feet above us, here comes a screaming F-18. Just scares the crap out of you. And I'm like, so what do you think? Are they locking on to you? He goes, I don't know what they're doing, but we just assume we're dead at that point. But he was laughing about how the Navy pilots love finding lone police cars and then buzzing them in the middle of the night, which to me is really freaking funny.
Dude, I've been buzzed on the way to Vegas one time.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Like they'll get low,
so I think the at least the Navy, from what I was told, has like a 500-foot hard deck. In training, you can go out, do your thing. You can't go below that. Somebody listening might know more than I do. I will tell you, I have video of F-18s way freaking lower than that, and I've shown some of my friends, and I've got a cousin who was an F-18 pilot. I'm like, dude, and they're like, oh yeah, they're real low. So, but I just imagine that the thrill of sighting a lowly lone police car in the middle of the night going up the highway is just too much, and those guys are willing to take the 500-foot above ground level restriction out of play and go have some fun.
I thought you were going to tell me the cop turns around and like radars to find out how fast the plane was going.
No, I think they're still trying to get the heebie-jeebies out of them by having a F-18 buzz them at 500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at those speeds, you're going to be like above the limits of what the radar guns are even capable of clocking. Like, they're not designed for clocking planes, so they actually have upper limits. So, like, at certain speeds,
just 999 or something.
The sound I forget, it's like 150 miles an hour, 200 or something, kind of in that range is what you'll see. So, like 500, I don't think the cops will even be able to pick them up and get that advance warning before they get buzzed.
Oh, interesting. So, like a Bugatti Veyron, no dice. They have no clue. Well, they know you're breaking the law.
Oh, you're saying go faster than what the gun can?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, exceed the gun's limit. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, we still have to get to the bands. Most of the radar detectors that I've had, and I think I've had one since I was 16, so like dinosaur giant devices that hung on suction mounts from my dashboard and always would fall off in the hot Southern California sun. When I would go by a highway patrolman, their guns would, quote unquote, leak. Is that still a thing where you could tell if a cop was up there, even if he wasn't pulling the trigger? Is that still the case?
So that's not really leakage. I think there were some old radar guns that would always be transmitting, and they didn't have the ability to actually turn off the antenna. Maybe they could like not display something, but the radar would always be transmitting. Modern radar guns, like when they want to transmit or not, like there is a technique called instant on. And the idea is like, instead of just leaving the gun on all the time, they'll leave the gun like turned off. It's in hold, they call it. And it's basically, it's not transmitting. The officer can't see any speeds. There's no leakage. There's nothing for you to detect. And only if they see somebody that they want to get the speed of, then they hit the button, radar gun starts transmitting, speed pops up on the display, and at that same time, your detector will start alerting. So there is that. That's called instant on. That's a technique that they try to do sometimes to defeat radar detectors. And as far as the leakage, though, that's not going to happen. If you're picking something up, it's because they're transmitting.
It's weird because I'll go up towards Northern California on the 5 freeway, which is a long stretch of the most boring highway ever, although not much worse than the 40 in the middle of the country. And my radar detector will be going bonkers, and the guy is sitting there just looking down at his pad of paper or writing notes. And I'm thinking, how? So I'm picking up the radar. So that's what you're saying, is the gun is always transmitting.
Yeah, a lot of times officers will just leave their guns on. I mean, like while they're sitting on the side of the road, maybe they're running laser, maybe they're doing paperwork, whatever, but sometimes they'll just leave their guns on. And maybe it's to give people advance warning. Maybe it's to slow down traffic. Maybe they're fine. I don't want to mess around with my radar gun. I leave it on, turn down the volume. It's great. But like, yeah, that definitely happens. If their gun is on and you're picking it up, it's because the gun is actively transmitting.
Okay. Now let's get to the bands. The bands are confusing.
Why are they confusing? XKKA.
So what do
and
they
then
do?
laser, which isn't radar.
Which ones should I ignore? Which ones are important? Which ones are more in use than others?
A simple way of understanding radar bands, it's kind of like, the car radio, you have like AM frequencies and FM frequencies. They're like different frequency ranges. So like on FM, we have 98 megahertz, 101 megahertz. It's like kind of a range of frequency that we think of as an FM radio. AM, it's, different ones as well. But they're basically different frequencies that the radar guns are transmitting on. It used to be S band way back in the day. Then they started using X band. And like these really old bands had massive, huge antennas because you're working with these lower frequencies, bigger wavelengths. And then they're like, well, officers' space in their cruiser is at a premium. And now they've got, speakers and lights and computers and microphones and all that kind of stuff. So they're like, hey, we need to make smaller and smaller antennas. Also, in case of a crash, we don't want this big, huge thing that could potentially hit the officer. We want them smaller, lighter weight. So over time, they started migrating to smaller and smaller antennas, which means they're using higher frequency, shorter wavelengths. That's where you go from like X band to K band to now Ka band. And so they're basically just different frequency ranges. But the issue that you're seeing as far as like, hey, there's other things that also transmit on the frequency ranges. Yeah, it's not just police radar that can transmit there. So like K band in particular, that is definitely still in use all over the country. That's not the case in LA. So if you're down there, you can actually just turn off K-band altogether. And they only use like KA down there, mostly stalker guns around 34/7, mostly KA and laser. So you could actually just disable K-band and not even worry about like the filtering that you would need. So there's kind of little tips and tricks like that. But on K-band specifically, the reason why that's so annoying is because you have automatic door openers from shopping centers. You've got a lot of cars with their radar-based collision avoidance systems or blind spot monitoring. A lot of those can transmit on K-band. Like there's other sources of K-band around you that's not just police radar that your radar detector may also alert to because it's also radar.
Yeah, in one of your videos, actually a couple of them, you talked about, is it a Mazda? There's a particular one that's annoying that it creeps into...
The Mazda CX-5s, yeah. So those transmit on K-band, usually around 24.123 to 24.124. So if your detector falls to those, a lot of times we're actually looking at the frequency that the signal is alerting to. And if we're like, oh, I see that signal, I see there's a Mazda CX-5 in front of me, chances are that's just a false alert. The annoying thing about that is that frequency is like right smack in the middle of where a lot of the police radar guns are like tuned to transmit. And so we can't do some of the like same filtering techniques that we could use on like Acuras and Hondas and Chryslers and Jeeps that a lot of times are slightly outside where the guns are centered. So we can't be quite as aggressive on the Mazdas to filter them out. So they're kind of annoying to have to deal with.
So what about the future of self-driving? I know you just talked about some of the vehicles that have it, but with all this autonomous driving, radar is going to be, a huge part of the sensor package that comes on these vehicles. And it's not just going to be blind spot. It's not just going to be adaptive cruise, and it's going to be more pervasive in the industry. How are you going to be able to eventually filter that out? And then on the flip side of that, when an officer is using, let's say, the radar band to, track a speeder coming toward them, how much of that extra radar energy are they picking up from other vehicles that just happen to be in autonomous drive mode or adaptive cruise control mode or any of that?
Fortunately for the cops, all the adaptive stuff doesn't interfere with their equipment. Like they're transmitting at a very specific frequency and they're only looking at return signals on that like very tiny frequency range. They're not looking for a bunch of other stuff and like wide range of frequencies the way we would have to do with our radar detectors. So it doesn't really affect them. Fortunately for them, it is a bigger issue for us. That's probably one of the biggest things that radar detector manufacturers these days are having to work on. That's the biggest complaint of like, why is this thing falsing all the time? Why is it alerting when there's no cops nearby? Like it's annoying. And that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing from radar detector manufacturers. And some of them are like being really aggressive to try to filter out these false alerts. But sometimes that can actually come at the expense of performance. They're focusing too far on the filtering side. So they're trying to figure out a balance with all this kind of stuff. One thing that we're seeing moving forward is like the FCC has actually mandated that moving forward, a lot of cars are going to be moving away from K-band. And they're going to be moving over to something like 77 gigahertz or so, which is even higher frequency range. There's some advantages to K-band, some for like 77 gigahertz, but currently there's no police radar guns that transmit at 77, which is nice for us so that we can just be like, my detector doesn't pick up 77 gigahertz. But a lot of these cars nearby are transmitting at that range, so my radar detector is not going to alert at all. So that's currently one of the things that's really nice for us because a lot of stuff in the future, at least for now, from what we've seen so far, isn't actually going to be a big issue for us.
So my original Passport that I had when I was a kid, my little Honda Accord, it really just had a switch that was like highway, city, a silence button, really, really basic, size of like a little bigger than a deck of cards, heavy, made out of solid metal. Like, I still have it. I think it's rad. It's like a time capsule, but it didn't do much. So now, because of what I learned off your channel, right after Christmas, I bought myself a Uniden R8. And
Nice.
It's fully customizable. So what do? I go to vortexradar.com and I download a configuration file, Holman. I drag that file into my Uniden software. I plug my radar detector into my computer, and I load up all of Ariel's pre-configured files for California. So it's got all the filtering done for me. Now, I could have certainly done that myself, because you can just open up that software suite and flip these dip switches on, off, whatever you wanted. But he's done a lot of that legwork for me. And it was a phenomenal resource. So thank you very much for saving me that kind of time. And also, a lot of people, I guess what I'm getting at is that I don't think the average person knows that they can set all these things up on their radar detector. They buy it from Amazon, or they go to vortexradar.com and they get one of your links, and they end up with this Valentine or Escort or Uniden, and they just put it in their car and then go. And then it squawks at them, and they get annoyed, and then they turn it off, and they put it in the glove box, and they get a ticket.
Happens all the time. Yeah. And even if somebody wants to start going to the rabbit hole of the settings, it's like, I don't know what the settings mean. What impact is that going to have to performance? Am I going to mess up the settings and potentially prevent the detector from alerting to a legitimate police radar signal? I don't want to do that. So like, I totally get it. There's a lot of concerns of like, once you start messing with the settings, to understand and know what settings to use, because yeah, the settings do vary depending on where you drive. Like what I need up here in Washington is different from what you would have in California, which is different than if you wanted to take a cross country road trip. Like some of the apps that you can get for the detectors can even like program the detector for you and start changing the settings based on what state you're driving in, depending on what radar guns officers use in those areas. So like, there's a lot of customization you can do that's location specific, above and beyond like, what's the quote unquote best settings.
And then also, I didn't know that you can, as I'm driving along home and I'm going up the 405 through Culver City, and as I'm going on an overpass, there's a red light camera beneath me, because it's the highway is raised, and underneath me is a red light camera. So of course the radar starts going bonkers because it sees the red light camera, but I'm above it. So I can hit a button on the top of the Uniden R8.
And you laughed at it?
And I tune it out, basically. So the next time I go over that intersection, it doesn't go off again.
And you just scoffed at the man.
It just remembers it based on GPS, which is kind of neat.
Now, does that camera remember you?
No, again, the camera's under me.
I know. I'm just wondering if
you're saying,
you came over and goes,
does it reciprocate?
I'll get you next time. Yeah.
I don't think so. No.
You hope not?
Tell me about the complexity. I guess this is where we dovetail in to the various brands and why one would be better than another. I mean, how am I choosing Escort versus Uniden versus Valentine, and then some of the other lesser known brands?
And by the way, Valentine was like super advanced 20 years ago.
Valentine is what the Ferrari owners
and they've
had.
done like one generation update since then. They're like, nope, our stuff's still good. Is that true? Is it still one of the better detectors out there, or is it all marketing spin?
Oh, I think the Valentine's a fantastic detector. So over like the previous generation of it, the Valentine 1 Gen 1, they've had many different hardware changes and some software changes too. And you used to actually have to like send in the detector for updates and pay $45 or whatever it was, and they would send you back an upgraded detector. What they've done with the new V1 Gen 2 is now like they have an updatable software platform. So it's just all over Bluetooth. You run the app and it can update your detector for you. So they've had like multiple updates to improve the filtering, to improve the performance, to add new features and functionality. So a lot of the detectors now are updatable. That's true for Escort, Uniden, Valentine, Redenso, etc.
Well, the Valentine, basically has the same form factor, although it's behind like a smoother screen than it used to be. But it's still a premium looking detector, and the price of it's not that bad when you compare it to some of the premium of the competition. $599. I feel like that's not that much more expensive than it was in the car and driver ads back in the day, and here we are 20 years later.
They've done a pretty good job about like maintaining the price. I know they raised the price like $100 or so, maybe a year or two ago. I find like with the V1 specifically, that tends to be something that like a lot of radar detector enthusiasts actually will like. There's a phenomenal Android app, JBV1, it's called, totally free app that you can pair it. It's like incredible app. Like there's nothing else that I found that's that good, that capable. Like a lot of the stuff I mentioned, like it can automatically adjust settings for you on the fly. That app is capable of it. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff there. And pairing the V1 with JBV1, like I actually picked up an Android just so I can run JBV1 a lot of times, like regardless of if I'm running the V1. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. The detector itself is great, but it's missing some basic functionality. Like there's no GPS. It's not designed for photo radar detection. The display is pretty simplistic, and it's missing the frequency display, like I mentioned earlier, that can be really useful to differentiate legitimate versus false alerts. So it's missing some pretty core stuff, but a lot of that functionality you can then add back in with apps, which is where it can start to get a little complex because you're like, okay, I need to run a third-party app, and what settings do I use, and which app do I use, and how do I, like, why didn't the manufacturer provide that? So I think that's kind of where I see a lot of the enthusiasts really dive in because they want to get into the weeds and play around with the apps, which again are excellent. But not everybody wants to do that, which is totally fair. Escort is kind of like the other side of the spectrum where they're trying to do everything in the detector. So there's GPS, there's Bluetooth, you can pair it to your phone. A lot of their stuff is actually currently broken. They're trying to fix it, their cloud functionality. But like there's Wi-Fi available. So if you have a Wi-Fi hotspot in your car, it'll update you if there's new red light cameras that show up in your area, or there's a new firmware update to like fix bugs. Like it can update it right in the car. You don't have to run any apps. You don't have to plug it into a computer at home. So like they're going for the more like set it and forget it experience. They're also the one that I mentioned of like, hey, they're prioritizing quietness over performance, which can sometimes have some negative consequences. We've been seeing in testing of like not picking up signals properly, having some alerting issues, but their detectors are very quiet. They're among the quietest out there, and you just set it in the windshield and it does a lot of the stuff for you. The Unidens, I think, are somewhere in the middle to where it has the GPS and the Bluetooth and all that kind of stuff. It's got the arrows. I mean, it's got all that kind of stuff too, but it does a much better job on like the performance and responsiveness side. It winds up being a little chattier than the Escorts, but then you can like enable some of the filters, and you can also add some additional app integration like with the V1 to help quiet it down further. So that seems to be a really nice balance that a lot of people find, is it's sort of in the middle between the Valentine and the Escort. There's some other companies too. There's Stinger, there's Redenso, K40 makes really low end stuff. The marketing is good, but like their detectors and their laser jammers are junk. Redenso, depending on the model, they have some decent stuff. Like the DS1 is equivalent to one of the unit detectors, the R4. Very similar, different form factor and stuff. But there's Stinger. They make like custom installed stuff. They're based overseas in the Netherlands. They're making some stuff here for the US as well. But I think the big three that I see are going to be Valentine, Uniden, and Escort here in the US.
And if
there's Cobra and some other ones I can
if
mention
somebody
too,
handed you $1,000 and said, go buy the best detector on the market for yourself, what are you getting?
People ask that all the time, and to me, I'm like, they're tools. I think they're different tools for different jobs. It's like saying, I want one vehicle for everything I could possibly do. And I'm like, well, that's not. I mean, sometimes you want a hybrid,
Ariel,
sometimes you need a truck.
Ariel, hold on a second. So, it's kind of like saying I hand you a 10 millimeter socket. You can, it is a tool, but you can use it for so many things. Let me back up. I'm on your website, and I'm looking at the Uniden R8. This isn't just an order of your most recent reviews of my favorite windshield mount radar detectors.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they're by price. Uniden R8 on top, Escort Redline 360C. Again, starting at the top.
Forget all those, Lightning. I'm looking on Amazon right now at the car radar detector for $49.90, and there's a 50% off promotion available.
Oh my God!
I'm just gonna get that one.
$5?
$49.90, and it's 50% off.
Oh, it's normally $100.
No. I think you can get it for $25. Yeah, sure.
I'm sure it works great.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Let's not do that.
That's what you should do, is a cheap radar detector shootout if you haven't done it already.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
So some of the low end stuff is awful. Like I've reviewed some of them, taken them apart to show you the internals, like what they advertise, how it performs. Like, man, those things are terrible. But that's where a lot of people start.
But you're going back to the tool thing, and it's like if the average person doesn't know how to use the tool. Like they don't know how to slice this without watching a bunch of your videos or someone else's. Like, how do they know what tool? Because you could have 10 different hammers, and technically all of them will pound in a nail, but they have different claws. Some are for framing, some are for other. Like, what are the basics?
This has been like one of my. Gosh, I wish there was a simple question. Like, this is something that for years I've tried to come up with a simple answer to this. And like, I have an answer, but I feel like it's too simplified and I can't come up with a good one. So the best way I can answer it right now is, for most people, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just want a good detector. probably go get an escort detector. Right. Simple plug and play, set and forget it kind of thing. Yeah, it's quiet. You're not going to complain about false alerts. There are some negative sides as far as performance. Some of the cloud stuff they advertise currently doesn't work properly. So I feel a little conflicted sometimes with recommending it because I'm like, hey, you can go get a unit detector. That'll give you the better performance. It'll be chattier, but okay, you're going to maybe let's take a look at some of the settings. Let's take a look at the apps. You can go grab the settings off my website if you want to go down that route. The Valentine is also a phenomenal option, but I think, again, that's more toward like the radar detector enthusiast is usually what would gravitate toward that one. So it really comes down to like maybe escort and Uniden as like the two. And again, we're ignoring where people live. Do you need photo radar detection? We're ignoring a lot of other stuff. But those are kind of the two that I would just start to direct people towards.
I guess you almost need one of those charts, a comparative chart, right? Where you've got, if you're looking at, you decided I want an escort, then you got to look at all the escorts from left to right, right?
Escort radar detector, Lightning.
Right. Yes.
Right. Escort radar detector.
Not the escort.
I'm just saying, be clear with your language.
Not the one that on Wilshire Boulevard that I saw the other night?
I'm just saying escort radar detector is what we're talking about.
Not wearing leather.
You could. I'm sure they have leather cases if you want yours to match the interior of your Ferrari. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that's tough. Again, just like you could buy a million hammers. They'll all hit a nail into the wall. Going through vortexradar.com, it's not just reviews of radar detectors, but you've also got like mounts. Recently, I saw you install a blem mount, which I already had for mine, but I love it. And a blem mount is kind of this articulating mount that you can hang from your rear view mirror. It's all like aluminum. And it swivels in a million different ways. I thought that was really cool. But you've got all the periphery, all of the accessories that you both suggest and rate. I think that's pretty cool, too, because you support kind of the whole ecosystem of radar detection.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff there. So, yeah, I mean, we'll go into like, where's the best place to mount your radar detector? You know, pros and cons of like a blend mount versus a radar detector that's on your windshield with a suction cup versus something that's, you know, installed in your grill. Like, here's the best accessories. Here's the best different types of radar detectors. So there's a lot of stuff there depending on what's, again, best for you. What do you want?
Tell me about the systems where, like, I bought a used car a couple years back, and it had what looked like sensors in the front grille and then under the bumper, in this under the rear bumper. I got to assume that was a jammer. I don't know. The guts weren't there. The brain was gone, but the sensors were still there. Any idea what that would be? And what type of system uses front and rear facing sensors?
Yeah, so that's when you start getting into the number one, the laser jammers, and number two, the custom installed radar detectors. Chances are what you were noticing was the laser jammers because those have to be like visually present. Like they have to see the light coming in and be able to shoot the light back out. Where the radar detector antenna can actually be installed behind a bumper, depending on, you know, not behind metal, but behind like a plastic bumper would be okay. So you can mount it in a way where you like visually you can't see it from the outside. So if you have some equipment, chances are that would be the laser jammer heads you saw.
So what that means is whoever owned the car before me drove it like a bat out of hell to need those.
Not necessarily. Maybe they wanted protection. A lot of people do. Not everybody does. I mean, yeah, it's amazing how many people are like, hey, I just want the peace of mind knowing if anything happens, like I'm not trying to do triple the speed limit in a school zone or anything crazy. It's just like, hey, you know, I didn't realize I was going over or whatever. Like they're not trying to do anything crazy or reckless. They just want a little bit of extra protection. Like that's actually a really common use case I see too.
Now, what about when the cop pulls you over and decides, listen, I was going to give you a break, but now that I see you have a radar detector, screw you, pal. Here's a ticket. Have a nice day. Is there, you know, I'm sure I've seen them in the past, the remote displays. Are there ways to hide your radar detector or to immediately start removing them from the inside of your car and shoving them into every pocket or seat cushion that you can before the red and blues light you up from behind?
Are you asking for real life experience or legal advice?
Just no. There's no legal advice intended or presumed on this show. That's for sure. I'm just curious. Like, what do you do? Are they quick releases? Do people have their own way of hiding the displays? What? I'm just curious.
The cop looks up there, and there's one suction there, and one suction mount is gone, and one's still hanging
and
there.
There's like the ghost of the suction cup on the windshield.
They can see the cable hanging down. Like, I mean, they're going to notice that. They pull up behind you. Like, if they see you fidgeting and moving around and trying to hide stuff, they're like, hey, does this guy have a gun? Is he trying to hide drugs? Like, they're going to get suspicious of something. So that kind of behavior, regardless of what it is going to, like, set them on alert. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people might want to get a custom installed radar detector. Nothing installed on the windshield, nothing for police to see, nothing for thieves to see, potentially break into your car. Doesn't compromise the aesthetics to the same degree. There's no box on the windshield. It's all like blended into the car. And yeah, you basically wind up having like a little controller and a little LCD display. And then maybe like an alert LED somewhere in the cabin. So it's much more integrated and hidden. The displays can actually be like integrated into your rearview mirror if you like. I've seen people build it into like the headliner area or in the heads-up display, like in your instrument cluster. Like you can blend it in much more nicely to where, yeah, there is nothing like on the windshield.
And what would you say? I mean, I'm sure it's regional to your point, but what would you say the danger of laser being in the mix is? What's the percentage of departments that are using laser and not radar, or are there guns that have both and the officer can decide what he's using? Or are they two completely different pieces of technology?
Yeah, I mean, they both have their pros and cons. A lot of officers use both. Out here where I live, it's like 98% radar. I rarely see laser. In certain places, it can be the other way where it's almost exclusively laser. Other places are like 50-50. So how much officers use will very much be regional. But the pros and cons, like from their perspective, radar, it's much more convenient to where they have a box in their dash. They can just kind of sit back and push the button and speeds pop up on screen. And then just wait for like a big number to pop up and boom, there's your next customer to pull over. They can also use radar while they're driving, something they can't do with laser. So if they're just like patrolling, driving around, they're going to be using radar. A lot of the downsides of radar have to do with the fact that you're just clocking every car on the road. And so it can be tough to identify, like if you've got, 30 cars in front of you, okay, which car corresponds to the number that's showing up on the display. They'll do things like show you the direction of the signal. They'll show you, or the car. They'll do like, here's the strongest target. Here's the fastest target. So they have ways of trying to differentiate like which car they're actually displaying on screen, but it is tougher. And that's actually where laser comes into play. So for like higher traffic areas, like on the highway, for example, they may prefer shooting laser. Well, they'll just sit sideways on the side of the road and they'll just look through a viewfinder and they'll just be like picking off cars. And they've got a crosshair in the viewfinder. They'll just put the dot, whatever, right on a car and push the button and boom, the speed pops up. And at that point, then there's not really any question as far as which car they're targeting. So that can be nice for them for like higher traffic areas. Again, they're going to have to be stationary to like look through a viewfinder, hold a gun, push a button, keep it locked onto one car. They can't do that while they're driving. But it does make it easier like in traffic and stuff.
The sound that most radar detectors that offer laser detection make when laser is fired is awesome. Like, Holman, you get all these Ks and Kas and it squawks and it's kind of like a whatever. When laser goes off, and I've only had it a couple times, it wails at you and you're like, he's there. Like there's no mistake. Like this is not a false. There's a cop and he's about to nail us. So you slow down and you just pray. At that point, like, I mean, once you get radar, because laser's not really bouncing around, and you're not getting reflection off buildings and stuff like that.
There's a reason you can have a laser pointer and hit something 1,000 feet away, no problem.
Right. And so when it goes bonkers, it's like just pray because he's got you, right? Or I mean,
or hopefully the guy next to you, right? Or the guy behind you, or something.
We joke around that like laser detectors and a radar detector is basically a speeding ticket notifier. Like as soon as the thing alerts, he's got your
incoming.
Speed. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Point. Like, I mean, you're toast. And a lot of times, like, if you've got the detector up on the windshield and he's targeting your grill, your front plates, your headlights, that kind of stuff, there's many instances where, like, your radar detector might not even alert. And I've seen so many times that people say, like, hey, Vortex, I just got pulled over. I'm running a detector, but my detector didn't go off and I got a ticket. What happened? Majority of the time, that's laser. So, like, that's actually a really common thing. Radar detectors are really best for radar. They're not great against laser.
Unless you have that a jammer, which again you said is illegal.
They are illegal in some places. Waze is actually legal everywhere, and that can be a nice countermeasure to laser too. Because as I mentioned, officers can only use laser when they're stationary. So if they're parked on the side of the road shooting laser, you're in a populated area. They're going to get marked quick on Waze, and so like I mean Waze is phenomenal against laser.
We need to have these third-party apps that anytime laser is detected, it just adds it to Waze automatically as a user-generated content as a cloud's
I wonder if that's already the case.
Tried to do that actually.
Really?
So they tried to do that years ago, but then they got kicked off of Waze didn't want other companies like interfacing with their
API.
And so like exactly. So they kind of like shut down their API. And then so Escort can do that with sharing cloud alerts with other drivers, but there's only so many people that use the Escort systems. And so like I've been running it for, 10 years or so, and I can count on one hand the number of times I've had a save from Escort Live. And so, like, I mean, it can do that. Like, if
Hey, one
somebody ahead of
hand,
you
that's
gets
5
shot with
digits.
laser-
That's 5 speeding tickets you didn't
There you
get.
Yeah. So then,
So, I mean, and then other people have tried to integrate with Escort, but then Escort shuts them out.
man, Holman, did I tell you that Ariel was going to be a wealth of knowledge?
Yeah, we should have him just do this podcast because
No.
he knows way more than we do about seemingly everything.
Everything?
Sure.
Do you want to sub for us when we're out of town, Ariel?
I'll do it.
Like we've just scratched the surface. I mean, just scratched the surface of radar detection. Go to vortexradar.com, VORTEX radar.com, or go to Vortex Radar on YouTube. And Ariel puts out a video almost like, I don't know, weekly. I feel like you're doing these almost weekly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, video sitting, man, it takes so much time for the testing and the editing and all that kind of stuff. So I would love to do more videos and all that kind of stuff. But
I'm not asking you to do more.
Current pace.
I'm saying
No, I'm asking myself to do more. I wish I could. But
I'm
man,
saying, well, you
there's a
can make
lot.
some
Like,
good money doing these things, but also like Holman, the last one he put 2 days ago, he put out 8K cameras, fake or real, 8K,
Well,
right? And he's comparing. I don't know what the brands are here, but like, can you give us a teaser? Because Holman is big time into dash cams.
Yeah, so it's funny. There's a lot of manufacturers that will advertise like fake 4K is a big thing. So
Yeah.
like companies use 2K sensors, but then they'll just tell you it's 4K and they'll stretch the image without adding any quality. So there's a lot of dash cams on the market that tell you they're 4K. They're really not. I saw the other day there was one advertising themselves as 8K. I was like, well, that's interesting. That's the first time I saw that. So I bought the camera online. I grabbed a real 8K camera. So I just started diving into like, okay, what is this thing like? What do they advertise? How does it perform? How does it compare to like 2K, 4K, 8K cameras? Like, okay, this is an 8K, but then what would an 8K dash cam look like? What are the ramifications to file size, bitrate, quality, image processing? Like just kind of diving into like, okay, let's talk about 8K dash cams. Like that doesn't exist yet, but maybe it will. Let's talk about it.
I love it.
I just think like, that's a whole nother show. We should talk about dash cams.
We can.
Are you can spin off another channel about dash cams.
I thought about that. It's funny. My YouTube channel actually originally started for dash cams. I was testing a couple different cameras and just needed a place to post the video of like dash cam A and dash cam B. And so originally I'd started it as a dash cam channel, and then I would post like saves with my radar detector and let's test something. I have a YouTube channel. So it's funny. I started with dash cams, then focused on radar detectors, and then like brought back to dash cam stuff.
It's coming full circle. All right, Ariel, Bravy, vortexradar.com. Damn.
And what's his YouTube channel?
It's Vortex Radar.
There we go.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us and our listeners. And
helping us get out of speeding tickets.
Well, we'll see. Well, do you have a guarantee that Lightning will not have a speeding ticket in the next year?
No, he's not going to have a guarantee. No. That would be foolish.
That would be fun.
And also
Yeah.
funny.
But dude, he saved me so much work putting just programming my Uniden R8.
It kind of sucks that he did all that work for you. It's kind of
doesn't-
like you're just copying off the kid in class in front of you,
he doesn't-
like you did all through school.
But like that kid normally knows because they look behind you and you're like peering over. I did it stealthy. Ariel had no idea.
Sure you did.
No, I'm like, please use it. I'll learn from you guys. You learn from me. Like, we don't need to everybody specializing in the same thing. Like, here's what I know. Then I'm going to learn from you whatever you know. So
Yeah.
like, this is awesome. I think this is how it should be.
And dude,
awesome.
so and support Ariel by going to vortexradar.com because I'm guessing you're making a little bit of money when people click on the links and buy the radar detectors and accessories. And so that helps Ariel make more videos. So do go to the website.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was great.
Awesome. Really appreciate it.
We're now putting you on the list of experts for radar detectors. Don't be surprised if we call you in the future with more dumb questions.
Sounds good. Let me know.
All right.
All
Thanks, Ben.
We'll talk to you. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right, Holman, this is where you tell me about driving fast in the desert in a new Raptor R with the upgraded horsepower, which is 720.
720 horsepower. So I'm going to play some audio. Basically, we had this amazing desert course that was a few miles long where we could just haul butt up this one road. We turned off, there were whoops, all this other stuff. We actually got a chance to jump the Raptor. I jumped him. If you go to my Instagram at Sean P. Holman.
I saw it. I was
Ariel.
actually, this is not just a little bitty jump. You aired it.
72 miles an hour off the lip of that hill. That's what I was doing when I hit that hill. And you can, it hucked.
How does the flight feel?
Great. It feels awesome.
How did the landing feel?
Landing was fine. There's a little bit of a secondary bounce as I hit, but everybody was cheering, and Ford people were like, that was awesome! How fast are you going? Because they're like, hey, go this speed. And then they're like, hey, you could probably go a little faster. And I'm okay.
So what was the next fastest? Were the other journalists going like 40?
No. I think everybody was aiming for like between 60 and 65. And then, there's a couple people where they're like, hey, you can pick it up a little bit. So was able to air it out. And
at what point would they have been angry that you like exceeded like 90 or something?
Probably 80.
80?
Yeah, bending a frame on a press drive. Bad. Can
I ask a dumb question about when you launch it? Are you under acceleration, or do you back off just as you hit the lift?
No, I blip it as I'm going off the lift.
To pull the nose up?
Because it pulls the nose up, and it also, you get that weight transfer backwards.
It loads it, right?
Yeah, and it kind of loads the suspension. And by doing that, you're lifting the truck off the front wheels, and that's giving you more up travel for when you land.
Gotcha.
So you definitely don't want to brake, and you don't want to coast. You want to kind of right before you go off.
Just like a dirt bike.
Just like a dirt bike. So there's a few things I'd like to say. So the truck itself is not super different. There's a couple little Easter eggs, like the V8 in the side of the center console armrest where you walk in, and it's kind of in the mesh of the fabric, and it just kind of hints V8 right there. The interior is just like all the other, Ford trucks. That new F-150s, they got the update. We've talked about the new tailgate and all that, and it was fine. It felt like a Ford. The thing I'll say about the Raptor R, it felt to me like a much more complete truck than the standard V6 Raptor. And that's a hard thing to quantify. In a standard V6 Raptor, it doesn't have as much power, but those trucks are not linear. So it's really easy to be in the throttle, hitting the whoops. And then if you mash it, the turbos light up so fast and violently, it's really easy to screw up. The power delivery on this engine is so linear.
Is this the difference between a two-stroke dirt bike? I know we bring up dirt bike, two-stroke and a four-stroke dirt bike.
No, I mean, not really.
Because when a two-stroke comes up on the pipe, and all of a sudden you're doing a wheelie accidentally.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but the power delivery is just it's different. I mean, it's you're isolated in a truck. I guess you could kind of say it was like that, but this engine down low is almost boring. It was one of those vehicles that if I wanted to hang it all out, mash the throttle, and it was big time. Whoa! And everything. Although the supercharger whine wasn't as much as I wanted it to be, the exhaust was way quieter than I thought it would be too. Like I thought the exhaust was going to be more rowdy, like a TRX. Even in Baja mode, I was kind of wishing for more. But the engine feels great.
Why? Because so many people are going to like really crappy filter on a stick intake systems, basically just a welded tube with just a big old conical filter at the end, just to get that whine.
Yeah.
Because there's so much damping inside that intake system, and then the mufflers are really good these days, right?
When you get into a TRX, you know that they're pegging the very limits of a legal factory exhaust. The Raptor, there's no danger of that, and it's kind of a bummer because I really wanted to hear that V8 sing. Now, the truck itself feels a little bit lighter than a TRX. The travel feels great. I was able to go pretty fast. So let me just play you this note. It's kind of my thoughts while I'm driving. I put the phone in my pocket, hit record. So basically, this course that they laid out in the desert was 4 miles. So it wasn't like a nothing course. And so I'm able to talk and walk you through what I'm doing. Hopefully you can hear the truck. It was
based on the preface, we're not going to hear much. It's going to be...
Well, we'll see. I actually have not listened to this audio. I recorded it, and I went, well, it is what it is, so we're going to play it on the show. All so right. Here's me in the Raptor R.
I love how you qualify the fact that we just don't care.
We do care. That's why I took the audio.
No, I know.
I put it in my pocket, and I said, let's go.
Sounds like ass, I'm
sorry.
No,
it's not going to sound like ass. Here we go.
All right.
So this is pretty cool. I found my way into a brand new 2024 Ford Raptor R with the 720 horsepower V8, and we just pulled out of the staging area onto the highway, and I didn't think to record when I hit the throttle, but got on the highway, and once I had traction, stabbed it, then immediately lost traction. It was awesome. So today we're going on about a 3-hour trip to do kind of some trail stuff, some sand dunes. Gonna get to jump the truck. This has the new live valve on 2 sides, compression and rebound, so the shock upgrade. Of course, it's got all the 24 improvements like the new dash and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's going to be 100 degrees out here today, and it should be.
Tell me about the interior real quick. What did they do? You said you've got
they have
the
basically a bigger screen. It's very much the Raptor that you know and love.
Okay.
Should be a lot of fun. This thing sounds pretty cool, and so far on the highway, rides real nice. So I'll do a little bit more when we get off road, but so far so good. Yeehaw!
Just a little bit of whine coming through, not much.
Just at the higher RPMs, like it's really kind of mellow. But when you pulled out on the highway, like everybody was in 4 auto, and I'm like, oh, we're putting 2-wheel drive, and I stabbed it, and it was like, it was like,
nice.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. Fabulous.
All right, so here we are pulling away. Already going off-road right now, I can tell a difference with the tuning. This feels really nice so far, especially on the kind of broken stuff.
What size tires are on there?
Well, this is the one with the 37s.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because that's right. They did the Raptor, then the Raptor 37, and then this stuff.
By the way, the curb weight on this truck is 5,710 pounds.
So I think it's about 300 and something pounds less than the TRX then, right?
Yeah, I think the TRX depends on what options you get.
Yeah.
But I believe the Ram TRX is around 6,700.
6,700? Did you just say?
I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
Marge right there. And then you've got my wheels, my tires, my brakes, my roll track, the headache rack I'm about to bolt on, and oh my gosh, all the other stuff I've weighed it down. I've probably slowed mine down a second in 0 to 60.
Yeah, I think if you don't have the glass roof and some of that stuff, I think it's like 6,500 pounds on a TRX, somewhere around there. But I think you add the glass roof and the higher end interior with all the bits and stuff, I think it kind of gets a couple hundred more pounds. Anyway, it's definitely lighter and you can feel it, but not in a bad way. I mean, it's lighter is always better for fast. Oh, by the way, remember when I told you that my Jeep was basically like 6,950 pounds?
Yeah.
When I weighed it?
Yeah.
My dad and I, we have full, like, to the gills, everything on it, roof rack loaded up, the two of us, everything in there, literally packed to the ceiling. So I'm like, Dad, we got to go weigh this thing because I've never weighed it with like all this stuff in it, and it feels heavy. So we did. Take a guess.
All right, so the last time you weighed it, I think, was somewhere just over 6,900 pounds, if memory serves. I'm going to say you clocked in at 7,250?
That would be nice. I definitely
for a Jeep. Holy mackerel.
I definitely had.
You didn't break 8,000, did you?
Okay, 6,940 was my first one.
Okay.
And I would like to turn your attention to the Pod Sheds TV.
All right, I'm looking up here, waiting for the screen to change. And, oh, there we go. And 7,700 pounds. That's one meaty Jeep.
Dude, I was literally like, oh. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that much.
And did it feel like that?
So going from a Raptor R to that, felt like that on the highway. And like,
just washy, just
heavy. But I still got like 13 miles per gallon, even with all the stuff hanging off it. So I'm like, all right.
I mean, the engine doesn't care.
I mean, it doesn't. It just, I mean, it's not as fast when it has all that porkiness to it. Now, that's not, I would never off-road with that weight. I mean, we did a little off-roading to our campsite, but we stayed in the same spot for the whole weekend. You know, everything was set up, and we had 30 steaks that we were cooking for one night and food for everybody. So you went home lighter than you went out. Way lighter. Yeah. I almost waited on the way home just to see, but I didn't. But dude, 7,700 pounds. The only reason I bring that up is the Raptor R is at 57. My Jeep this weekend weighed 2,000 pounds, 1 ton more than a Raptor R.
That's nuts. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, dude. It's yeah.
It would have been crazy for you to sky your Jeep like off that same jump. And then everything comes flying off.
I would have bent axles.
Oh,
wheels.
it would have been a disaster. Your Lightner boxes going flying off.
No, the Lightner boxes would have been fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're solidly mounted.
So your roof would come off.
All to 100%. All right, so here we are pulling away.
You're right. I can't
And
hear
I'm rolling
that
up the windows since
supercharger.
I'm in the dust, but it's a nice growl. It's not super aggressive. That's on the quiet mode. I'm sure I'll get to play around with it some more. Already going off-road right now, I can tell a difference with the tuning. This feels really nice so far, especially on the kind of broken stuff. And we're in a line of Raptors, and we're heading out in Johnson Valley to go have some fun.
How many trucks were out there?
So I don't know if you can hear me.
I think my group had 5. I think there were 10 total, and they split them into 2 groups of 5.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can hear me. I'm about 45 off-road right now. The V8 sounds cool. It's more subdued than I thought it would be, but it's not annoying at all. Like it's not too much. It could actually be a little bit more aggressive in the exhaust department, but it's nice and smooth. Sounds good. Super healthy. Just hit some pretty big cross ditches out here, and the 37s and the new shocks just soaked them up. There's a couple butt puckers. I'm like, ooh, and then it was nothing.
Your voice.
Yeah, as it should
it's
be,
always
right?
funny listening to someone off road. They're like trying
Well,
to.
yeah, because I'm driving. We're in Johnson Valley. We're hitting like every ripple and crest, and it was fun. We're playing follow the leader at that point, so I'm trying to keep, stay in line.
But
and
you
talk
just
to my
mentioned that you
audience.
had a butt pucker incident, a couple of them. You had like ledges or something where you're like,
No,
oh,
there's
this is
just
gonna hurt.
deep cross ditches that were like a 6 to 12 inch drop, square edged. Drove right through them.
You can definitely feel how solid the frame is. But I'm doing 45, 48, coming down now up into a hill.
I got to know, did you have an open Dr. Pepper can in the center console?
Yep, and it shook all the bubbles right on out.
I was going to say.
Super easy to pitch the tail on it and get around a corner sideways. It's just a drift machine. It's so much fun. That's over those kind of chop washes and stuff. All right, here we go over a few whoops.
How solid did it feel?
So it's fine.
Sideways through the sand. You hear that blower pick up. Oh man, this thing's a riot. Super rowdy, fun to drive. Now we're back over the whoops. We're basically just playing follow the leader right now with a line of Raptor R's.
It's funny because you can hear me breathing, but I'm breathing because it's not because I'm winded. It's because I'm like as I'm going over stuff.
Did you need the TRD seats that have the lower portion?
I don't know anybody that's driven in those yet, so I have no idea how good they are. No, these have the Recaros, the Ford Racaros. They're super supportive.
And now we're going over some pretty big whoops, and I'm impressed with how good this feels. These are not small whoopers. They're substantial. All right, that was fun. I just got up with the group. Okay, now we've come to this obstacle where it's about 100-yard uphill sandy thing that turns into a short little valley with rocks.
Okay, now you're passing. Good job.
And so you got it.
Next truck, let's go.
So now you got to continue momentum. You can hear Lieberman driving up the hill, but you got to continue momentum. I'll leave the windows down, so hopefully you can hear a little bit better.
Good job. Come all the way to me. Keep your momentum. Keep coming right through. Keep going. Go.
All right, here I go.
Good job. Next truck, come on.
What's up with the hill? How steep?
Very.
Like spooky steep?
Where I'm standing right here, okay?
Are you in low gear or are you hauling butt?
Dude, stop talking over the truck. We're trying to hear the awesome V8 sounds. Ask questions at the top of the hill, will you?
All right, made it to the top. So imagine it being a hill. You enter the bottom of the hill at a slight left-hand turn, and as you go up, you make a sharp right-hand turn for the last third of it, and in that pocket is a bunch of rocks that you have to rock crawl over. So you need the momentum to get up to those rocks, but then you have to have momentum to crest the hill because it's really steep. And it was pretty amazing. Raptors are not rock crawlers, but because of the 37s and the long travel suspension, they certainly get you through about anything in the desert that you can find. And this is just one of those perfect examples of I want to go fast, but the desert's always changing. There could be a wash, there could be rocks. You have to be able to be proficient at doing all of it. And there was nothing that we threw in Johnson Valley at the Raptor R that it couldn't handle. Very impressive.
Were you smashing the pumpkin on any rocks underneath, or was it
no?
What
do you think? I'm a rookie?
No. Well, I don't know how big the rocks are in the middle and the ruts and stuff.
Dude. Okay, all right. First lesson about off-roading. You don't straddle rocks, ever.
Well, of course not on purpose.
No, you don't ever do it. You put your tires on top of the rocks because that gives you higher ground clearance. All sorts of people, they all think, oh, I wonder if I can straddle this rock and make it. Then they hit it with their diff and the rear pump, whatever. No, that's not what you do. You put your tires on top, off to the side, and that gives you ground clearance so you're not hitting your undercarriage.
What if you can't get to the side?
You can.
Okay, I didn't know I could.
I'm telling you, you can.
All right.
Piece of cake.
She's a big girl.
She's a big girl. I like him with white hips.
Yeah, exactly.
Truck, come on.
Just in case you didn't know, we were talking about the truck.
We gathered that.
Yeah. So Ford really wants us to see just that the Raptor R is not a one-trick pony, and that it's capable. And so we're going through a little rock garden right now, and the suspension feels pretty good crawling over rocks. Like I'm pretty impressed. It's very compliant. There's not a lot of head toss. The rear coil sprung rear axle works really well. And now we're heading down a rocky, basically like a downhill, which would be pretty gnarly going up. So you can imagine it's pretty steep. I don't know what the angle is, but it's I don't know, probably 50 degrees down, maybe 45 in sections. It's really steep with big chunky hard rocks in it, and the truck is just handling it nice.
Did you experience
staying within the suspension limits, which is
Did you experience any brake fade?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Good. You know, I'm not bottoming out. I'm not topping out. Having this much travel definitely makes a difference. So, come down off the end here. And then, of course, you're going fast at the end. It ends in a couple whoops, which is kind of cool. Super sandy. So we'll grab these real quick. And now an off camber. Big truck swallowers right in here. I gotta tell you,
it's funny that you can hear more of me just commentating. The truck's so quiet.
So quiet.
Yeah, it's weird. Like,
doesn't feel. They really should have made it a little bit louder.
It's just like really docile.
Too sedate.
Tell you, this is really rough terrain. Oh, skid plate. Sorry, Ford. And the truck feels great. All right, coming up to a rutted sand hill. I know it's not as cool as Lightning's Bronco R ride, but for something that you can register that has license plates, this feels pretty good.
I have a feeling that's why it's so quiet. They know that most people
now we're
are
in
gonna,
a sand dune complex.
They're going to daily drive this thing.
They're going to let us get on it.
that sounded good.
Yeah, I was going all the way to the top. And I was trying to ride.
It's nice to have that kind of horsepower because you're climbing these big dunes and it's all rippled and.
What's the red line on that thing, the RPM? Do you know?
6,000 something.
Okay.
It's pretty high.
I mean, mid sixes?
Yeah, 6,700 maybe?
Yeah, the TRX is right in there, 67.
Like it's funny because I got to the top and I was trying to ride this fin and I just got stuck and I just used the horsepower to like power my way through the sand. It was like, I'm not getting stuck here. It was pretty cool.
That would have been embarrassing.
Nah, I wouldn't have done it. I didn't do it.
Right.
I got out of it with the power.
That sounded good.
Yeah, I was definitely giggling a lot.
I think I got cattywampus a little bit.
So this is the point at the top where I am now stuck, like high centered, but I'm off to the side, so I'm side sloping a little bit. Okay. So I'm sure everybody's like,
it's like a sand dune or what?
Yeah, giant sand dune, and then I'm on the little like spine at the top, like sideways on it.
And everyone can see you.
Oh yeah, and everybody's probably going, oh crap.
Now
and
wait a minute. So were you the only one that went that high on the sand dune?
Yeah, because everybody was over on there's like two bowls. Everybody was kind of following the left side. I'm like, well, I'm going to go over here because nobody told me not to.
Was your you know, like a Glamis, that type of thing? You'd go up to the top of the sand dune and you'd crest over and go the other bowl.
The front part of the truck crested over and the rear didn't.
Oh.
And I was just kind of hanging there. So what I was doing was I had like the front passenger wheel was over it, and then the other three wheels were on it.
Okay.
And so
was one wheel drooped out?
No, I don't know. I was inside the car, but I had one wheel over the lip, and I had to gun it to kind of crab it like this along the top. So I was like driving at like a 45-degree angle. So that's what you're hearing here. But I didn't get stuck.
You saved it. Is this you panicking quietly?
No, it's me working the steering wheel. And the pedals.
But I don't hear much. You're just barely turning the wheels?
Yeah, because I'm side slope, so I'm just trying to be really careful. There. Back in the saddle.
Almost didn't crest that dune there, so I had to back off of it. Now that we are off the dunes, we're kind of playing a little bit of follow the leader over just kind of really flowy terrain with some whoopers in it, some cross ditches. Rolled down the window so hopefully you can hear the engine. The one thing I'll say that I'm kind of surprised with is it doesn't feel high strung at all, considering it's a smaller V8 with a blower on it. If you get into it, all those 720 horses appear, like there's no doubt about it. But if you're kind of mellow, whoops, going this way. But if you're kind of mellow, we're going over whoops right now, sorry about that. It just feels like a nice torquey V8.
So after we went through the follow the leader, we went out and did this short course that was 4 miles, and then that's what this audio is right here. And if you enjoyed that, I think you really enjoy this because this is me by myself. We did a practice route following somebody, and then they just let us go on our own. So it's me at my pace, just explaining what's going on.
So I sense a little faster run.
Okay. Sure.
It's you.
What's up?
Do you guys care window up or window down?
We prefer window up, I think, yeah. Keep the cleanup to a minimum. Right, good.
I appreciate you asking.
All right, Lightning, this is the off-road course. So this is essentially just going to be a few minutes of me driving a Raptor 70 miles an hour through the desert. I'm at 72 right now on the dirt road that leads up to the course. 4,000, 5,000 RPM, 5,500, 78, probably a little fast. It's just mashing on this road. Super smooth. This road has a lot of undulations and things in the middle that suspension is easily absorbing. Still 70 miles an hour. Fourth gear, 4,700, and here coming into the slowdown. Wanted to swap as I got onto the brakes. All right, now I'm turning off onto the off-road kind of Baja portion. So this is your typical Desert 2 track, doing about 35, 36, 40 miles an hour. Truck's handling it 50 miles an hour. All right, coming up on a turn, off the throttle, powering through, back up to 52, 55. All right, coming up to a turn, off the throttle, downshift, and bunch of whoops, and through the turn, accelerating out of the turn. And now this is a whipped out section, so we're gonna take this about 25 miles an hour is about the max through here. We bottomed out the suspension at 22. There's about 18-inch, not huge, but the frequency is really tight, so gotta give the truck a chance to respond. 25 is about the sweet spot here. All right, coming out of this, back onto a little faster road. Left turn. We're off to the side, massive whoops in the middle of this road. Again, 25, sort of the sweet spot through here. Turning left again, a little bit faster. About 40 miles an hour. A few whoops. Really loose soil. Whoops, hard pack, all mixed together. High ridge in the center where the tires have dug down. Coming around a corner, right turn, heading toward the dry lake bed. 45 miles an hour. Got away from the whoops because now we're going parallel to the alluvial fan, not perpendicular. And we're turning, so we're getting back into a few little whoops here. Just soaks them up nicely. Not bottoming out. Averaging about 30 through here. This is a bigger whooped out section. These are spread apart, about the same size as the other ones, but the frequency's not as tight, so you can go a little faster. So 37, 38. Truck's flowing through here. Just breathing, all that travel. $38, $39, whoops, here we go. 40 through the whoops. These are little ripples, like 6 to 12 inches. All right. Left-hand turn, downshifting. Very responsive with the paddles. Okay, now heading down to the dry lake bed. And this is fast, but there's a big gotcha at the end, so we'll be slowing down for that. 55, 58, 59, 60. You'll hear me let off shortly to navigate the whoops or the gotcha. Here we go, through the whoops now, slowing down. Big gotcha at the end of this. There it is. Okay, now we're on the dry lake bed. And this is like a autocross course. So we'll pull up, wait for our turn. There's a truck in front of us. All right, so now we are entering the autocross course. It's on a dry lake bed. And we're gonna use the throttle to bring us around. We're in Baja four-wheel drive mode. Right turn, this is a decreasing radius left turn. Tail's hanging out. Steering with the throttle. Now we got it back to a right turn. coming back to a left turn.
You're in the dirt.
Bring
I
the
don't
tail
understand
around.
why I'm hearing like skidding.
That's the tires trying to get traction on the dry lake bed. That's the lake bed surface. So
okay.
You came out of the mountains, and then you got into the dry lake bed, and then that's the very end of this sort of autocross course, which was the end of the whole Baja off-road course.
I mean, it sounds like asphalt.
It's about as hard as asphalt, almost as hard.
And now we're at the stop box. We're stopping here, and we're going to do a wide open throttle. So I'm going to crack the window so you can hear it. Here we go. There you go. That was 65 miles an hour. And we've stopped in the braking stop box. And now we are pretty cool.
65 miles an hour. As you go up the ramp and the truck releases over the jump, just back off the throttle and let the truck land, and then turn around, turn to your right, come back kind of along this greenery here, and we'll try to get time for 2 jumps.
All right, I got to put on my hands device because
Photographers get out and shoot this.
it sounds like we're about to go do a jump. All right, so now I'm lining up for the jump. We're going to get to hit it at about 60 miles an hour. Maybe a little bit faster, we'll see. I got a Hans device on, everything's done super safety, and I just got the thumbs up, so here we go. All right, we're at 55, coming up to the jump. 60 right here. Here's the jump. Nice, so smooth. Wow. So I kind of got off the jump a little cattywampus because as I was accelerating through 60, the truck kind of went off to the side just from the torque, and it was awesome because I felt it coming, and I didn't expect it to be a harsh landing or anything, but I was just a little cattywampus, and it landed freaking awesome.
So that was the first of 3 jumps, but it was
Johnny Lieberman.
It's pretty cool.
That's not a jump.
And I think,
What did you think? It's not a jump. I've done this. We did this. We did TRX and Raptor R right here.
Yeah.
And I think the TRX actually destroyed it, but it was a better jump. I mean,
It's still a jump. A
you're in the
manufacturer
air,
still let us leave the ground.
You're in the air. You could, there's a lot more jumping to be done.
By the way, Johnny said he wants to come down here and come in studio and do the show with us. I'm like,
Really?
dude, let's do it. Get on down here.
absolutely. But
So,
he's in Silver Lake, isn't he? Like up
Yeah, he's
in Hollywood?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly which
Los
neighborhood.
Feliz or somewhere
something
like that? Yeah.
He's like, I'll just Uber down there and we'll just smoke cigars and drink whiskey and hang out. I'm like, yeah.
He's going to Uber. Wait, Uber?
That's what he said.
Why would he Uber?
Because he's rich. He's Johnny Lieberman.
But what?
So-
He's got $1 million. Like, he's always got a car.
So it was funny.
vehicle-
So we're in Palm Springs at this thing, right at the hotel, and he's like, "Hey, what do you want to do after dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "Want to go find a cigar lounge?" I'm like, "Yep." So he and I found there's an Indian casino that
I
had
saw the photo.
Yeah. So we went and smoked some cigars, and that's how we.
Now, is he
ended
going to
up-
Uber down here because he wants to drink? Well, that would be
Probably,
smart.
maybe, yeah,
I've got
sure.
no problem with that, obviously. But
Maybe
I
he'll have a Tesla from Elon that will drive itself
I
down
mean,
here.
he's got so many vehicles to choose from. Strange. But
know.
now, wait. How is he as a driver? Like, he's driven everything. I mean,
yeah,
literally, I've watched him on the Motor Trend channel.
He's a great on-road driver. I think he's a decent off-road driver. Where I'm probably the opposite. I'm probably a decent on-road driver, but a pretty good off-road driver. Just because that's where he lives and where I live.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we just got the green light to go faster on the next jump. So we're going to do it again, see if we can get up to about 65, 68, somewhere in there. And it's always fun when a manufacturer trusts a bunch of journalists with different skill sets to go auger their trucks off of, jumps in the desert. This isn't like
And this is not a $40,000 truck.
No, this is a $120,000 truck.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is that
with journalists of all, there were people that should not have been driving out there.
was that true?
They're not off road. They're just like, yeah.
Did any hurt
No,
the vehicles?
no. But there's people who a manufacturer sends out invites, and then whatever the freelancer says yes, or the magazine says I'm sending this person. They don't get to cherry pick who they're sending, so you get people of all different skill levels, which
YouTubers and stuff like
all
that.
of it. I like when manufacturers put together. There's a few Ford's competitors that are very good at this of putting together like a good driver's wave. and they put together a bunch of automotive journalists who are trusted and known for their off-road skill, and then we have a much more fun program because you're not slowed down by the lowest common denominator. That being said, Ford puts on a really robust off-road program, probably as good as any of the manufacturers in terms of really letting you see the capabilities of the vehicle and letting you have some fun.
All right, now we're heading back to the staging area where we will attempt our jump again, but this time a little faster. All right, here we go. We're gonna do a little faster this time. All right, we're gonna hit it. 65. Oh, that was 70.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome. We scared the crap out of that.
It's funny.
Listen to that laugh. You went up a couple octaves.
Yeah,
I've not heard you laugh like that in a while.
Well,
be funnier is what you said, and then maybe
Oh, man.
Oh, look at that.
That was great. I'm going to slow the truck down and head back to the start. So there you go. That was a nice little loop with the new F-150 Raptor R, which is a fantastically fun vehicle to drive. So I don't think if you're listening you had as much fun as I did, but hopefully that was enjoyable.
Well, damn, that sounded crazy fun. And I wish I was there. I know I would not have actually gotten an invite, but I'm glad that you were there to bring it to life for us.
yeah, but you can't really complain because you were just in the Bronco R with our man Brad.
True, but I did not get air. I
What?
would have loved
Really?
No, didn't.
Huh, well, that's a shame.
I mean,
Nor did you drive.
No.
But you got an e-ticket ride.
No complaints about being in that Bronco DR, but like, and at 90 plus miles an hour going through the desert, it was awesome. It was awesome. But we didn't catch any air. Wait a minute.
Or did you?
We might have. Now that I think
There's just
back,
so much travel.
I think we might have come off, but you're right. There's so much travel. I don't think I do remember like feeling no G's for a second, but I don't know if the wheels were still on the ground because
Just say they were off. Nobody knows.
oh man, we were flying
There
through the
you
air.
go. Attaboy.
All right. Man, great episode. Thank you, Holman, for bringing that to us. Appreciate it. If you guys want to weigh in, well, we were going to take your email. We didn't get a chance. We'll do it on the next episode. I promise. TruckShowPodcast@gmail.com.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh,
And I still have to touch on the next episode about my favorite version of the F-150, which we didn't talk about here because we ran out of time.
Can I guess?
No.
I can't guess what it was?
Nope.
Really?
Nope. We'll talk about it on the next show.
So your favorite F-150 of all the
things you can go to the dealership and buy right now.
It was not the Raptor R with 720 horsepower and live valve shocks.
No.
What the hell?
So this is the Raptor R. We'll do a little more F-150 in the next one. But in the meantime, we want to hear your feedback. So please hit us up at truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. Myself at Holman at truckshowpodcast.com or Lightning at truckshowpodcast.com. And then on the socials, at truckshowpodcast, at LBC Lightning, at Sean P. Holman. And we want to hear from you. Or you can
what are you signaling to
I
me
thought you were
across
going
the
to do the
desk?
5-star hotline.
Oh, I know, but I should have.
all
Yeah,
right.
we can talk about the 5-star hotline.
657-205-6105. I gave Lightning the 5 for 5-star because I thought he was going to.
didn't know
I
what
put
that
the
meant.
ball down, and I thought you were going to pick it up.
No,
You
I
didn't.
just whiffed it. I mean, you're doing like a high five at me. I'm like, what
No, I'm saying 5-star. Like
5-star
hotline.
hotline. Well, we're going to do 5-star reviews? Like,
Well,
I mean,
listen, give us a call. We want to hear from you. And then also, if you'd be so kind, leave us a 5-star review. I think
This
that
fell totally apart right at the end.
Horrible, because I thought we were in a flow and you were just staring at me blankly.
I didn't know what. You're holding up 5 fingers. What does that even mean?
We still need some Know Your Notes before we can do another segment
hold on,
there.
stop. Did you give them the phone number? 657-205-6105?
I did. You were here. You were sitting right here when I did it.
I'm not listening to you, though.
Okay. All right, then Lightning's checked out. Also, head over to Truck Show Podcast.
See you guys later.
No, would you stop? Just sit there. You can be checked out, but you still have to be at the board.
Okay.
You have to push the buttons or something. All right. Head over to truckshowpodcast.com. You can go to our featured products page where we've got some discounts and stuff for you there, or go to our events tab, and then you can also find out what's happening in your neck of the woods. If you've got an event coming in your area that you want to promote or that we should know about, whether it's a regular deal once a week, once a month, whatever, or once a year, give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll add that to the calendar.
Or hit the button that says buy T-shirts because, yeah.
Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah.
Easy. Easy. Go play your avocado song or something if you need to get those shakes out of you.
All right. Hey, I'll pull us out of this rut. This is where we think Nissan.
Oh, yeah, great segue. Let's go from Lightning's antics right into our presenting sponsor. Okay. All right, well, Nissan is one of our favorite truck manufacturers. They make one of the best trucks you can buy. If you're in the market for a mid-sized truck, head on down to your local Nissan dealership where you could test drive a Nissan Frontier. We like the Pro 4X and the hardbody. Or you could head over to nissanusa.com where you can see all the different options and colors that you can get your Frontier in. And I hear they got some good deals going on right now. So, by the way, if you head on down to your local Nissan dealership, there's still some really crazy lease deals right now and Leafs.
There are?
And Arias. Dude, I saw a Leaf lease deal yesterday for $90 a month.
No.
Yes.
No, you didn't.
Dude, if you just need basic transportation,
$90 a month?
Jump on that, people. In fact, one of our listeners emailed me. Actually, two of our listeners have bought Arias since I got mine. True story.
Really?
They emailed me. Mike and Ray, both of them, went and got Arias. They're like, hey,
I hope you're receiving a commission.
We were, the show, sponsorship of our show. It's funny because Ray bought a Ram Rebel based on our advice as well. So he bought two vehicles because of this show.
Dang.
Which is pretty good. So he was looking for a commuter car for his wife.
Go Ray.
Heard about the Aria. They went, checked it out, fell in love with it, took it home. My buddy Mike, same thing. And they wouldn't have known about it if it weren't for the Truck Show podcast.
No kidding. We're doing some good.
Yeah, so go get a truck, go get a EV, whatever. Just go to Nissan. That's all we're saying.
All right, and yes, Banks Power offers performance parts for Ford and for GM, but right now I'm talking to you Ram guys. With the Cummins 6.7 liter, or maybe I'll bend the rules for the 5.9 guys. If you're looking for some parts for your truck, hit me up, lightning@truckshowpodcast.com. I will hook a brother up with a discount. And as part of the deal, I will give you the brand new Banks t-shirt with the 6.7 liter Cummins diesel blueprint on it. It's super dope. So lightning@truckshowpodcast.com for the hookup. This will be just for this week only. Just, you hearing me? If it's,
do it now.
If the next episode is already out,
you're done.
It's over.
Don't bother the man.
Don't bother me. Exactly.
All right, I'm holding in my hand the tube of lube. It's the AMSOIL Dominator synthetic, and it's funny because I was reading through and it's this is the NLGI number 2.
By the way, do you have the gun for that?
I do.
Okay.
High speed, high temp, extreme pressure, and then when you read on the back, it says high-performance bearing and chassis lubrication for all race applications on snow, dirt, water, and track. Designed for superior protection of bearings operating under high speed, high heat, and heavy loads. And I'm thinking, well, I got that part handled.
That's you with your 7,700-pound Jeep.
That's fully loaded, though.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't have gas in the back or a full tank.
Oh, my God.
So it could go higher.
It's loaded like that quite often, actually. So that grease will do well, yeah.
Once a year.
Really?
That heavy. It's I would say my normal, I'm going out to the desert by myself. I'm probably 68, 69.
So look, when you're at amsoil.com, pick up some greases and some aerosols while you're buying your favorite
like your glass cleaner or what's the mud stuff you love?
Mudslinger.
Spray it on and all that stuff slides
I'm telling
on.
You think this is like Plug-Ola? Dude, I'm telling you, get a can of Mudslinger, spray it on the inside of your fender liners, and then spray it liberally on all your black bumpers and watch them come alive. Dude, Lightning told you to do it. I want to hear back from you.
All right. AMSOIL, the first in synthetics, and also making your black plastics come alive.
That's what he said.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome. Scared the crap out of that.